What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I'm bringing you what is probably the best budget deck for this format going forward, and I'm also going to show you a very powerful one card FTK combo. If that didn't give it away by now, this certainly will. So today I'm going to be bringing you a budget, competitive, Gimmick Puppet profile. Post Banlist as well, I might hasten to add. The deck can still do the FTK incredibly well. Yes, it does take a little bit of a consistency hit. However, once we get the new set as well, it kind of goes back to its old ways, a little bit like Snake Eyes. So with all of that out of the way, very straightforward and simple, smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to dive headfirst into the profile, show you what we've got, and then at the end of the video, I'll show you the very basic one card combo that will lead you to an FTK with this deck, and you don't even need to be spending thousands of pounds to play it. You can probably pick up an entire core for anywhere from £50 to £100 at max. So, we're going to be starting off with 3 of the Gimmick Puppet Rouge Doll, and then follow that up by 3 Little Soldier. These are your ideal cards. Now, your best and ideal card will be Mansion, that we'll talk about a little bit later on, but the other is that that's going to lead you into your Little Soldier leads you into the Rouge Doll, and because you're playing 3 of them, it kind of gives you that ability to go, okay cool, activate field spell, opponent ashes it, and you go, okay cool, normal summon Soldier, and go again. So you're still being able to set yourself up with the level of consistency that the deck had before. The only thing you lost was 2 cards from your extra deck, which is slightly damaging, but you can still do the FTK a different way, utilising only 1 of each of the string puppets. Then of course we do play 2 Puppet Terror Baby, followed up by the 1 Bisque Doll, 1 Cattle Scream, and unfortunately I couldn't find my English copy, but I also do have this very battered Japanese version that a friend gave me a while back, and I found it in my bulk and I was like, okay. Now I didn't do this to the card, that's how the friend gave it to me, but yeah, I'll now replace it with the Lost Art that we've got here in the TCG now, but the idea is this is just a free level 8 extender for the entire deck. You can play Scissor Arms if you want to as well. I honestly don't own a copy of it, and I'm not looking to go out of my way to spend £7 to £10 for a copy of it. I feel the deck can still function without it, which is why I've kind of decided not to play it. Then of course we're playing 2 of the Rancart Force. Now obviously the idea behind this is the card that's going to help you get into your FTK because you do loop it back from the graveyard about 3 times. So one of the cards that can really hurt this deck is something like DD Crow on this particular card, which is why having 2 is not the end of the world, because if you do hard open up 1, it kind of again affords you or allows you to have that interaction that either they DD Crow it, very rare, or that they stop you getting to it in the first place and you're like, okay cool, I've already opened up 1 copy. If you are fearful of the DD Crow, you'll see with the amount of hand traps and protection from said hand traps that we play, that you'll kind of want to add DD Crow to that list and that lineup. Then of course the best card of the entire deck is Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls. This card is crazy. So when this card is activated, you add a Gimmick Puppet monster from the deck to the hand, so that's how you're going to get into your Little Soldier. Gimmick Puppet monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle, and they're unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters except their XYZ monsters. Once per turn you get to detach material from an XYZ you control, target Gimmick Puppet in your graveyard and special summon it to your opponent's field in defense. You can only activate 1 mansion per turn, so if you are facing this deck, this is the card you want to stop. It is insanely powerful, it gets everything going that the deck needs, and that is one of the biggest downfalls of it. So if you go to a local environment and they're like, everyone's playing Ghost Ogres, you might want to consider it. The only other ones that we really deal with, or the hand traps that we deal with, is stuff like Nibiru's and Bestials and Ashes, because it's all kind of cards that stop you getting to this, or cards that help break a board or stop the board getting to the FTK. We'll talk about those a little bit later on. So to decrease the consistency of getting to Mansion, as it is now more important than ever, we are playing the 1 chicken game and the 1 set rotation. Now obviously the idea is if you've already opened up the Mansion, you can set rotation, give your opponent a Mansion, give yourself a chicken game, activate it so you give that extra line of protection because you'll take 1,000 life point damage, draw a card, and then you'll be able to replace it with the Mansion. The other benefit of giving your opponent a face-down field spell is the fact of the matter is they can't imperm you from that point on because they will control a card. They won't be able to evenly you without setting the card before. The only thing they can do is Lightning Storm you, which isn't really the end of the world. More times than not, you're pushing for that FTK, and more times than not, what you're going to do is you're going to activate set rotation, give them chicken game anyway to get you the Mansion, because if they have chicken game and they activate it to draw a card, they won't be able to kill you. So it kind of acts as a bit of a deterrent and a defender. If you really just want to shut off your opponent's field zone and their field spell, you can actually set rotation into the field spell for the BLS, because it's a card that is on activation, mandatory to add a card. So if they can't add said card because they're not playing it, they won't be able to activate it, which means as long as that stays face down, they won't be able to flip it face up to get out of the lock that set rotation puts them in. So there's loads of little different loopholes you can utilize with set rotation, but the idea behind this is you're going to activate set rotation first, give yourself Mansion, give them chicken game, Second, if you've already got Mansion, you give yourself Chicken Game, pay 1,000 life points, give you a little bit more of that draw, and then go with Mansion. And then obviously Terraforming to search out said field spells. We are then playing Triple Condolence Puppet. This is probably like the most expensive common of the set, purely for the fact of the matter is this is like a quadruple Foolish Berry. It's absolutely insane. And when you do decide to Foolish Berry with the deck, you're going to be able to set up your Bisque Doll, which means your Gimmick Puppets can't be targeted. You'll be able to set up your Terror Baby, which means your opponent cannot respond to your activated Gimmick Puppet effects. It just really does put them on the back burner. And then one Foolish Burial, one Call by the Grave, and then the one Service Puppet play. And then the next batch of cards that I'm going to show you is entirely up to you. These could be board breakers if you choose to go down that route and go with the OTK version I showed you previously, because the idea is you would just play Kaijus, you would play board breakers, you'd break your opponent's board and then FTK them in retaliation, rather than worrying about all the hand traps. But I feel that in this moment, going forward, especially when the new set drops, a lot of people are going to be going blind second. And the one thing that this deck can do is it only really worries about a few select amount of hand traps. And what I mean by that is if they drop Mole Chummy on you, or they drop the new Mole Chummy on you as well, and just draw, you can let them draw their entire deck because you're going to FTK them anyway. The only ones you really worry about are stuff like Nibiru's, Imperms, Bestials, and then of course, if Ghost Ogres and DD Crows come into the format, you'll be a little bit worried about those, and that's when you're going to be using those as cross-out targets. So speaking of which, we are playing Triple Crossout Designator. Apologies that these are in a different sleeve, but they're currently in my main deck right now that I'm using for the current format. So as you'll see that all of my hand traps are pretty much maxed out. So triple Imperm, triple Ash, we go with double Nib on this one, double Bestials, and then double Drolls. So like I said, this element is completely flexible. If you're like, you know what, a lot of people actually main deck in Spooky Dogwood, then you can actually take out an Ash for a Spooky Dogwood. If you're like, okay, a lot of people aren't even maining Droll, they're probably going to be siding it, but they are maining stuff like Ghost Ogres, these become Ghost Ogres, and then vice versa. You just kind of swap these out. The only ones, like I said, that really affect your board is if they're main decking a Droll and they stop you because you do search a lot. Ash Blossom to stop you getting to the field spell, or even using field spell to get you to your starter. Nibiru, once you've built up a board, you can just clear your opponent's board off and then go from there. And then the Bestials to hit some of your targets like your Cattle Scream from the graveyard as well can be a bit annoying. And Imperm, because it's not a monster effect, so it's like one of the very few cards that can actually dodge around or play around with the field spell protection. So that's why you want to try and protect yourself where at all possible. And then the benefit of playing the hand traps is it gives you the nice balance of if you do have to go second, your opponent has to play through those hand traps. And if you do decide to go first and they do stop you getting to the FTK, they still then need to play through those in retaliation. Moving on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we are playing 2 of the Gimmick Puppet, Machinex, and 2 of the CXYZ versions of it. Pretty standard from the last build. Some people are playing 3 and 3. It really is entirely up to you. What you need to remember is that Rouge Doll does lock you in for Gimmick Puppets for the entire turn. So that's why people do decide to play the Horus Engine as well, because you can actually summon out the Horus Engine and not need to go into your XYZs, or use them as XYZ fodder to get into your Gimmick Puppets from the extra deck. But ultimately, you just use it as a bit more of a draw factor, and that's where you can swap up your set rotation target to be the field spell for the Horus cards. It really is up to you. It does give you another nice aggressive option for the deck, so if you go second and you can't FTK, or they stop the FTK or anything like that, you just go Horus and absolutely hammer them, and then by that point they'll probably be a little bit cheaper because of the Megatins. Then of course, now newly put down to 1, you've got 1 number C40 and 140. Absolutely fine having these at 1. I mean, ideally you'd want them at 2, but the idea is the deck can still function with them at 1. It's not like, cool, we've hit those cards, that's it, the deck is completely dead. Then we're playing 1 number 88, Gimmick Puppet Leo, and the 1 number C88. Very rare you go into these, but they can help you out in really sticky situations. And then the card that's probably going to help you the more times than not that you'll see in the FTK combo is we are playing 2 number 15 and 2 C15s. You don't have to play 2 C15s, you can actually take one of these out and then it becomes a generic card that you might want to play. So we did used to play the Sky Prison, which is another generic rank 8. And Morley for that one was if you don't use Rouge Doll, or if they stop you going through Rouge Doll and you're not locking yourself into your Gimmick Puppets, you can make that as an option to shut out the graveyard. The last of the cards we play is the 1 Gimmick Puppet Gigantis Doll. This is basically as at level 4, so that when you reveal it as a level 4 off of Rouge Doll, rather than getting a level 8 to the board, you actually get into one of the level 4s, which can ultimately end up being your baby doll, or of course it can be your little soldier as well. And then the final 2 cards we play is 2 Gimmick Puppet Chimera Doll. Like I said, this is like full-on focus, Gimmick Puppets, no messing around, no like sneaky SP Little Knight or anything like that in here. It is literally, we are playing to FTK. How you decide to FTK your opponent is entirely up to you, whether you go for the board breaker and then OTK them through the FTK line, or whether you go, you know what, I'm just going to probably get to go first more times than not at my environment, so I'm just going to naturally FTK you anyway, because very few people are focusing on it. And unless your opponents know you're taking this to a local environment, and when they are taking it to a local environment, they'll probably be like, right, okay, well, I need to main deck stuff like Dogwood and everything else. You'll be able to kind of counteract that by going, okay, well, I'll main deck a Dogwood just so that my opponent can't drop a Dogwood on me and then gain the life points, and then my FTK strategy is shot. The deck can still function even if you don't complete the FTK. It just comes a bit more of a grind in that one. But then ideally what you're saying to your opponent is, you now need to kill me, because if you don't kill me, especially with my field spell in play, I'm just going to come back at you and then finish the FTK that I started in turn 1. So that's pretty much it for the profile. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset this board and show you the 1-card FTK combo for this deck. 1-card Gimmick Puppet FTK post Banlist. So you're going to start off by activating the mansion. This will allow you to grab your little soldier. You'll normal summon down the little soldier, sending the Yugioh from deck to grave. Trigger Yugioh's effect to add it back to the hand, and then use its hand effect to reveal itself and a rank 8 from your extra deck in order to summon itself down and summon the cattle screen from the deck. You then overlay the cattle screen plus the soldier, as this is now treated as a level 8, into your first Machinax. Use Machinex's effect, detaching the cattle screen in order to add you your Chaos rank up, and this is obviously how you're going to start getting all of your materials going. So you're now going to want to activate the cattle screen effect in the graveyard to detach a material off of the Machinax to summon itself back to the board, and this is how you're going to get more of your rank 8s into rotation. Keep in mind that the Chaos Force is in your hand, plus 4 additional cards. Now activate the rank up force. This will then allow you to rank up your Machinax into the CXYZ rank up, which will grab you hold of your Gimmick Puppet or Service Puppet play. So you've basically replaced your Chaos form with your trap card should the FTK get stopped. Then what you're going to be able to do is you'll be able to continue from this point here. You're going to be able to make another rank 8 using the Yugioh and the cattle screen, and you're going to go into your Gimmick Puppet of strings. So you're going to be able to keep pushing further forward from this one. Because you have conducted an XYZ summon, this will allow you to trigger the Chaos Force back from the graveyard into your hand. Obviously, keep in mind you can only use that once per duel. You'll then be able to use the effect of detaching the material off of the strings, making sure you're putting the cattle screen into the graveyard in order to put string counters on all monsters on the board except itself, so mainly being your Machinax right here. You then be able to use the effect of the Machinax to detach material from this card, special on a monster from either graveyard to your opponent's field in defense. You're going to be able to give them the cattle scream. Now do not worry, we'll deal with this a little bit later on, but the next move you're going to want to make is activate your rank up force. This is then going to allow you to turn your strings into the C version of the strings, which is going to give you the ability to pop all monsters with string counters on it, which at the moment will be your Machinax. This will now deal your opponent 3,100 damage, which is absolutely insane. And then what you're going to want to make sure is you do that as Chain Link 1, and you're going to want to make sure you use the effect of the Machinax as Chain Link 2, so you'll be able to revive this from the graveyard and add back the rank up force back to your hand again for the second time. The next stage is to link both your XYZs together, and this will get you into your Gimmick Puppet Chimera Doll. So this one gives you during the main phase, if you try a link monster, listing summon the card, you can activate the effect to gain an additional normal summon for the turn. But the best thing about that as well is you're also going to be able to search you out from the deck to the hand your Gimmick Puppet Terror Baby. So you're doing a lot of searching here, so be warned, Droll can be a little bit dangerous. At this point here, obviously, you have an additional normal summon off of the Machinax, and you'll have an additional summon off of the back of this. So you're going to be able to normal summon down the Terror Baby, use this effect to revive you the Yugioh from the graveyard, and then you're going to be able to banish the Gimmick Puppet Little Soldier from the graveyard in order to make both of these level 8s, which is how you're going to be able to get into another rank 8, which is going to be very, very important. So you're going to be able to overlay both of those, and you're going to be able to go into your number 15 Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder, and this is how you're going to get more of the burn damage on the board. So you're then also going to be able to use the effect of the field spell to detach material to revive one from the graveyard. So you're going to detach a material from this. You'll then be able to revive one from the graveyard to your opponent's field, and you're going to want to put back your strongest monster from the graveyard, and that of course will be the Machinax. So at the moment both of these cards are on your opponent's side of the board. As soon as this hits your opponent's board, you'll be able to trigger the effect of your Giant Grinder. So this one will allow you to detach material to then destroy the monster that was summoned to your opponent's board, and then burn your opponent for that damage of 3,100. So that's your second 3,100 that you have dealt to your opponent. Then to get the final bit of damage in the board, you're going to want to be able to activate the rank up force to turn your number 15 into your C number 15, and this will then allow you to detach a material, target a card your opponent controls, destroy it, and if you do and it was a monster, you inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack, being 2,000, which is the final bit of damage to put that Gimmick Puppet now in your opponent's coffin. So that's it for the entire profile and of course the combo. This is probably the strongest deck in my opinion on a very tidy budget that the deck can really do well. Yes, of course the ban list did hinder the way the combo operated, but it will get stronger and a little bit more consistent in the future when we get the next set. But you do then also need to be a little bit more careful for the new Molchummy as well. If you don't have any questions at all, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. But for now, as absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.